Brad, why am I here?
Oh yeah,
I just woke up in this room.
Oh, it was like I told you before we started recording. That dirty couch right there, I slept on that like 10 years. You can see my perfect groove in there from watching decades worth of bad movies. Most of which are actually on the shelf behind me. With the miniature version of me watching over every single one of us.
Why are they all stained?
Oh, they were like that when I bought them. That comes with the territory of buying them on eBay. I love that this is called Brad Ruins Rob's Day, but
you're doing a good job.
But it's me who's watched the movie.
Yeah, I don't get the purpose of this show.
Oh, we can thank the comments for it.
This started. What review was it?
Roe versus Wade.
Oh, when you had to describe it to me, and I just was miserable listening to this.
I know. I was like, I got a screener for this movie called Roe v. Wade, and I was like, and Laura did not want to sit in on that with me. So I'm like, hey, Rob, can I describe this movie? Can I describe this movie to you? And your reaction?
She doesn't like being mansplained about abortion?
No,
really?
no, not after the unplanned review. That was just a slow progression of my wife murdering me near the end of the video, just from describing the movie. And
see the exact moment when she sticks the knife in Brad's back.
Yeah, it was somewhere in the middle of the Hunter-Killer review too, I think. So a lot of people were pointing out that was actually pretty funny. It suggested Brad Ruins Rob's Day, which worked out. I've been wanting to do stuff with screeners and direct-to-video stuff for a while, and I said to you, I go, well, how about Brad Ruins Rob's Day? And you go, well, I guess I could watch some of this shit. And I'm like, no, it's just me watching it and then describing it to you. And you're like, oh, well.
Gore. Honestly, this is probably the worst way to do it, because I might actually would have preferred watching it just so I could, rant about it. But in this case, I just have to listen to you talk about it.
Again, this is what happens with my wife every evening, me simply describing the movies I watch. This is the second time I've described this movie to a person. Well, how would you feel if because you've seen the first Norm of the North.
I did, and that one time was enough to last over 1,000 generations.
The fact that I even have to say the first Norm of the North. How would you feel if I told you this is a franchise by this point?
I'd stick my head in an oven.
What do you think number this is? Which Norm of the North this movie is?
Jesus, how many could they have possibly?
Again,
it's gonna have to be more than 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 3.
It's 4. This is the 4th one.
They didn't!
Yeah. Fourth time's a charm. You never, and plus, well, I guess you could...
I know Rob Schneider needs a paycheck, but...
Oh no, he's only in the first one. He's
really?
Oh yeah, different voice cast.
This is getting better already.
Yeah, different voice cast in the sequels. And the second movie was the one where it was done as one of those Disney sequels that was like...
Direct to DVD.
Yeah, like where it was like, where the second Norm of the North was like 2 45-minute things put together in one movie. 3 and 4 are a full-length movie.
Well, at least you got your money's worth then.
Sort of, but if it's a plot that you don't like, you're kind of sitting there going, I don't know if I'm stuck with this for 45 minutes or 90 minutes.
I don't know what the plot is, but I can guarantee I already don't like it.
It's the same plot as the rest of them. Norm is king, and he's not doing a very good job as king, and he has to be taught...
violent revolution, and he's sent to the guillotine.
I mean, you're half right in this one.
That would be amazing.
Because the name of this one is Norm of the North Family Vacation. And Norm is...
That sounds like a Lost National Lampoon's movie.
It is better than Vegas Vacation.
Well,
and it is better than the Vacation reboot with the Ed Helms one from a few years ago.
Well, that one I didn't see, because I have some sense of taste.
Oh, not me. I've seen all 4 Norm of the North movies. I have only seen 4 Harry Potter movies, but I've seen all 4 Norm of the North films.
That's not something to brag about, my friend.
I shouldn't have said that to Laura on our first date. Especially because there weren't this many Norm of the North
And you two still got married.
Oh yeah, she's a huge fan of these movies.
Hold on to that one for life.
So in this, it's Norm needs a vacation because... Do you remember the scene in Emperor's New Groove where Kuzco is tired to listening to the line of people and their complaints?
Yeah.
Like, that's like this, only if the main character was supposed to be endearing and not an asshole who, like, learns a lesson by the end of it.
You do bring up an interesting point. If this actually had David Spade in this, I think it would open up, like, one of those Gozer holes between universes, and the Destructor would come, and...
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, that kind of happens near the end of this movie. See, this is why I needed you here, because you kind of predicted some things about Roe v. Wade as well. You could predict two things: abortion movies and Norm of the North films. Practically the same genre.
I mean, it's a cinematic abortion. Does that count?
Oh yeah, it counts because the caribou at the beginning of this movie. They've not run out of caribou puns. They've done several caribou puns in all of these movies. This one opens with "Of course I care. I care about you." King Norm! And then right after that, the whale comes to make a wish, farts, and it shoots the lemmings out of Norm's Fortress of Solitude. And the whale goes, "I hate Mondays!"
Can we stop already?
Oh, day ruined.
All right.
Day perfectly ruined.
Yeah, alright. That just knowing that exists is just hurting me on an intellectual level.
Well, the lemmings, though, are actually a lot, because one thing Laura and I noticed in the third Norm of the North movie is that the lemmings are the most useful ones in the movie, especially this one, because
the minions of the film?
Yeah, that's what they are. They're the minions of the... they still are. Only it's like you don't need Norm here, because really the lemmings can do anything. They can, like, morph their bodies into flat shapes and sneak through shit. And in this one, they have the power of assembling anything out of ice.
Now, I've played Lemmings. If you hit a button, do they all explode? Like...
Kinda, yeah. Like, because
oh my god!
There's several scenes where the lemmings get stuck in something throughout all of these movies, and they shoot out, and a fart joke happens. So they kind of work as quirks as well, or like the human version of Bugs Bunny sticking his finger in like a gun barrel. And the plot is that sometime in the night, Norm's crown goes missing, and he has to find out where his crown is.
So what?
Oh, that's where Armageddon comes in.
What?
Yes, because at the beginning of the movie, the lemmings are all assembling this big ice sculpture for the annual Jubilee, in which the crown, at a certain time of year, has to be placed on top of this big penis sculpture. It looks like a dick. And if that doesn't happen...
At least the animators got their job somehow. That had to be on purpose.
I'll bring that up later when I mention who directed this. So... if the crown, at a certain time of year during this big Jubilee event, isn't placed on top of the ice sculpture, Armageddon happens. Like, this
is how we get global climate change!
Yeah! Like, lightning, like a gigantic winter storm, like, day after tomorrow, end of days shit. It's sort of like when the numbers don't get pushed on Lost, and like... pandemonium just happens. That's why they need to find the crown. And Norm's family is constantly giving him shit that they haven't gone on a family vacation together. He finds out his crown is in China, so he uses that as an excuse going, well, I need to go to China anyway.
To stop Armageddon.
To find his crown and to stop Armageddon. And the way...
everybody getting all this?
Dude,
somebody's coming.
What I love about this kind of thing is like all this shit happens in the movie. The way that they get there is the lemmings assemble a boat out of ice. Like, because that's what the lemmings can do in this. They can just, they're like, they can make ice sculptures.
If you had put this in the Ghostbusters plot, it would be too ridiculous. Dan Aykroyd himself couldn't come up with this. You couldn't even put this in the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot.
Yeah. I guess if you wanted to capitalize on Frozen, which is kind of what this movie is doing with all of the ice stuff that's happening in it, assembling boats out of ice.
Please tell me Norm sings Into the Unknown.
He dances in it because he does the polar shuffle in every single one of them. And one of these movies, it's guaranteed it's going to end with a big dance-off. And it does. All of these movies end with a big dance-off. Even like theatrical bad kids movies always end in a big dance routine, and so does this one.
Gangnam Style?
No, that was the nut job.
I know. Believe me, I know.
Oh, it's got a before they sail off, and the lemmings work as the boat motor because I guess they can't make. That's the only thing they can't make out of ice. So Norm is like, "What's the worst that could happen?" And then it cuts to a close up of the lemmings putting on like a tight speedo. Like, oh,
don't ever do that with your hands down there again. By the way,
but that's where it was. That's where you can see like their fur coming out of their speedos, and it's.
I'm not looking.
Yeah. Bow, bow. And the lemmings are working as like the motors and speed the boat off to China so he can get his crown back. Because as Norm says in the movie, he says, "I'm a bear that cares, because bearing is caring." Oh, there's plenty more.
So does this somehow connect to the Care Bears extended universe?
Only Stormy Bear, I guess, because of all the bad weather that happens.
Or is there a Care Bear stare, or is that just Norm stalking some polar bear chick? Like,
no, he's happily married at this point because
of course he is.
Yeah, because it's the family vacation. Like they're on their boat of ice, and then an ice missile heads their way that freezes the boat into the water.
What?
Oh yeah, because he sees the ice missile that's being shot by the villains that freezes the boat in place in the water, and Norm goes, "That's not very ice. You mean nice? No, I mean ice."
I know what I said. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Who the fuck are the villains?
Oh, that's when the movie turns into Wonder Park. So when they get to China...
That classic. That was on my top 10 worst films I saw last year.
Oh, yeah, this one would make the top 10 best, obviously, because it does Wonder Park right. And when they get to China in it...
Maury says, that was a lie.
It's the one lie that I've told in this whole thing. No, it's a giant theme park that they go to. That's where they find out that the crown is being held, because the person who runs the theme park is Tony the Tiger. It's not Tony the Tiger. He's a white tiger, but he looks like and kind of sounds like Tony the Tiger a little bit. So it's like
they're whitewashing.
Yeah, and it's off-brand like bagged cereal version of Tony the Tiger. His name is Fu.
Terry the Tiger.
His name is Fu, and his two kids' name are Pete and Repeat, because they both talk simultaneously, and they kind of.
But his name is Fu.
His name is Fu.
So it's like supposed to be some sort of Kung Fu Panda thing. Like they're trying to just cover all bases.
Not with. I don't know why they did that with his character, because there is the Kung Fu Rabbit that's in the movie, who's been in the last few. He pops up on the phone a couple of times to go like, "Can't make it this time, guys."
But this sounds like the movie in Fight Club that they splice the image of a big dick into.
No, that's what they did, because like the movie opens with the,
oh, that's right, the animators did put a big giant cock in it.
They're assembling an ice sculpture that's a giant dick, and
cut to the little girl crying.
Well, it does kind of have a love story, because the way that this theme park is in the movie, everything's made out of ice, and the roller coaster, the machines, every ride is made of ice, and they're all glowing different colors.
But how do you get the mechanics of that to work? What are the gears made out of? Ice?
Because they're a giant slide, basically. Like, it's less that it's a roller coaster necessarily, and just a big slide.
If you have a rope and pulley system, then what are you using as the rope?
The lemmings figured it out. Like, maybe it was just me.
It's just a collection of all those lemmings holding onto each other, creating a chain.
One of the lemmings, they have a Whack-A-Lemmings machine in which iced lemmings pop up to whack them on the head, and then one of the real lemmings sees it, and it does the romance theme. Do, 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 do. The next time we see that lemming, he's like arm in arm with like the ice lemming.
I honestly thought this was going to be like a cakewalk, and I'm already regretting agreeing to sign on to this. I really am.
Would you rather would you rather have watched it?
I don't know.
It did go by fast.
Knowing it's almost like I may as well have watched it, because knowing it exists already hurts me so much.
Well, this ain't gonna make it very much better because since they're on vacation and back on their glacier or wherever, where they're anxiously awaiting the crown to get back so that Armageddon doesn't happen, Norm has changed his answering machine. So when somebody calls, it says, "Hey, this is Norm. We're off at our summer home. Summer home, summer not." Ding.
I want to apologize to Sonic fans everywhere. I'm sorry. Okay, I should have just liked that movie.
Yeah.
I do need to remember that there really is a bottom of the barrel here.
There is.
Like,
yeah.
Jesus.
And it's the norm of the... But somewhere, I mentioned this to Laura when we reviewed part 3. I said, somewhere in the world, there's a kid who this shit's their jam. Norm is their franchise. And they can't wait that they've already announced a 5th one.
School for that kid has gotta suck.
It's got the classic scene though, where the lemmings are dressed as ninjas, and you know that Tony the Tiger has.
You just depressed me even more because now I'm thinking about how, like, yeah, when I was growing up, there were always the poor kids in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. We were one of them, but we did occasionally have some good movies.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, God, yeah, there's like poor kids somewhere where this is it. Parents rented it from, Family Video or something, and I'm just like, this is why we need Bernie. No. We need to fix this classist system. But it is depressing to think of that.
Socrates the Pelican looks kind of like Bernie. He was in the other movies as well.
Then I guess in some sort of third world country they're eating like wooden rocks, and they're just like, "What are you complaining about? We don't have Norm of the North."
In this, they eat bowls of ice cubes with milk poured into them. This one quotes lines from rips off lines from better movies. Right before the storm starts happening at the end, Norm's wife, I think it's Norm's, one of the characters says, "Could be worse. Could be snowing." Snow. Walk this way. This way. You're right, movie. I could be watching Mel Brooks instead.
The funny thing is, that was already such a cliche that even when I watch Young Frankenstein now, I don't even think it works there.
so definitely not in Norm of the North.
Definitely not in Norm of the North. Do we need to really, shit on Mel Brooks' legacy, too, for Norm of the North?
I could be watching Life Stinks. Of course the tigers have something to do with it, but it's not the dad. It's not Tony the Tiger, even though they try to make you think he is, because they're like, "Dad, where were you the other day?" And he's like, "I was busy.
Helping some poor kids play hockey." Maybe to show them they're a tiger.
It was, "Show them you're a tiger." Oh yeah, because it's his kids who do it, who sneak in like ninjas and steal the crown. And the reason why they did that is because they know that their dad likes collecting shiny objects and was like, "Well, he'll probably like this crown." So
so the kids are executed.
Oh, and, Norm is talking to the two kids. They're like, "We're sorry. We just wanted to give our dad a nice surprise."
And he eats them.
It went in a direction where, because he takes off the crown, and I was like, I swear to God, if he gives these two kids the crown, it's like, well, you're right. I guess it doesn't mean anything here.
He shits on it and then shoves it on their head.
No, that would be
forces it down their throats.
That would be the lemming's job. No, he's like, well,
what is this?
He's like, well, you're right. Family is the most important thing, much like my family. It's one of those movies that does a thing that I don't like in movies where the family is constantly giving Norm shit for having to do stuff that's pertaining to his job. Only in this, I understand, focusing too much on work, yeah. But in this, when literally the end of the world is dependent on what he's doing, maybe give him some shit later.
This was the Mulan 2 problem when I was watching it with Doug, and the observation I made is how really selfish Mulan is, because I'm like, the problem is I'm like, Aladdin's kind of a fantasy, and the whole thing about Aladdin and Jasmine was it was set up as, well, it's tradition, Jasmine. We just have to do it because.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, there's your out. Then if you don't want an arranged marriage, and she fights for freedom to pick whoever she wants and goes flying on a magic carpet. But in Mulan, it's just like, no, there are political alliances here.
Yeah.
You don't pull the, oh, you should marry for love shit when, you know, you've got Mongols ready to invade, taking over the shitty wall. You know, you don't do that.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing. I'm like,
Same
I don't
thing.
get writers who want to insert this, like, it's like they're so keen to have that message. I was like, did you not consider there's actual consequences? to this?
Yeah.
What a great lesson to teach.
Yeah, this one does that too, but I mean, it works out at the end. He gets the crown up there at the last minute, and they have a giant dance-off together with the whale doing I'm a Little Teapot. What would you say if I told you this was the best one? It's not good. It's bad. But of the four, it is the best one. And I'll tell you why.
What would I say?
Yeah.
Thanos was right. That's what I would
We've wiped
say.
out half the Norm of the North movies.
It would be worth it. I lose a few family members along the way, but like, you know what? It was a noble sacrifice.
If I saw this movie theatrical, you could certainly see the low budget in it. But watching it on TV, there were parts where, take the bad jokes aside for a second, and then the plot.
Take
and
the bad
everything.
jokes, please.
Please, please get them out of my apartment. When I look at how certain sequences are in the movie, like really kind of how colorful the roller coasters were, and when the lemmings were going down it, and it kind of turns into 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it does that like light show for a second with the lemmings, and the sequence where they find out where the crown is this scene where the whale starts doing his sonar thing, like, and it kind of zooms out and does this 2D stuff with these other effects with this. It's a dumb scene, but like, I was like, they're being a bit more ambitious here with some of the animation than in the previous movies. Like, again, how the sonar stuff, the slide stuff, honestly, even the storm at the end, when like their home is about to get wiped out. Low budget, sure, but I mean, like, looking at it on DVD, I'm like, they at least put time into the storyboards.
I just want you on record defending Norm of the North 4.
The person who directed it, this will probably make sense to you, is a guy named Anthony Bell, who in the past worked on a lot of Duckman, and
oh, okay.
he also worked on a lot of...
I'm still not going to see this. I don't care.
Oh, no.
I love Duckman, but...
It's bad. Don't get me wrong. You can just tell that this movie is made by somebody who...
This was a paycheck, and it sucks because they're trying to put some kind of...
Yeah, you could tell there was thought put into a lot of the storyboards on here, more so than in the other ones. He also, he's worked on Rugrats, he's worked on a lot of other Nickelodeon, Nicktoons and things like that.
It's funny when I think of Duckman and Rugrats and all of those, how there was a very specific style of animation back in the 90s. Real Monsters, that was another one.
Did you ever see Alpha and Omega?
No.
He directed that. I think it was like the last big movie he directed.
Gotcha.
And I don't think that was supposed to be very good, but I mean like...
I hate to say it, if it's colorful and imaginative, that was one of my bigger gripes with Sonic, is I thought it was a boring road movie. Like,
yeah.
It's like, if you've got a property where it's like you can make it colorful and imaginative, then make it colorful and imaginative. Like,
you could tell they were working with the budget that they had. And that they were trying to do interesting things with the ice in it, like the lemmings assembling ice skates.
Well, this is what kills me. So they were able to work with what they had. It's a shitty movie.
Yeah.
And made an animated film. Why couldn't you have done that with Sonic? With an movie had an actual budget. It wasn't spectacular, but I'm like, you could have cut James Martz and all the human characters out of it, not spend time actually filming this live action, just made it a CGI movie from the start, and, you know, set it in the video game world.
So I think they're going the, like, Smurfs movie model. I think Sonic's a better movie than Smurfs. But if they follow that model, eventually
but that's not a high bar. Smurfs.
No, not at
terrible.
all.
I don't know why that's a thing.
That cliche.
Yeah, and I know we got, like, you know, pushback from the Sonic fan base about it, but I mean, it's just one of my least favorite cliches in movies. So if you start your movie off where that's the premise, and he goes into the real world, he hooks up with a buddy. I'm like, I just hate that. So I mean, take it with a grain of salt, because I'm just telling you now, I don't like that. So no, that movie probably was, unless it was really spectacular, and it wasn't. that's just not going to be my thing.
Set it in the North Pole. Then
But Norm of the North gets a movie that's animated and has some imagination in it. Of course, it's garbage, and I'm willing to bet I'm willing to bet like hard money. It's still way worse than Sonic. But I'm
Lord, yeah. I didn't mind Sonic.
How does Norm of the North get that though? I'm like, why not greenlight?
If they can get someone better to write the script or something, I don't know. Maybe they're leading to something that's fine because I think they are doing.
It's super weird because Norm of the North feels like it was capitalizing on the original, that whole Happy Feet thing. Arctic shit was in for a while. I think March of the Penguins had something to do with that. Yeah. But now, because of Frozen, it's still going, and now it's trying to capitalize on Frozen.
There's a lot of ice in this movie. There's a lot of things freezing. You can tell that's what they're doing with this film, is capitalizing on that.
Ice to see you! What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Honestly, this felt like a quicker sit than Frozen 2 did.
I didn't like Frozen 2 either.
Yeah, I did not. I'm not saying.
I'm sure Frozen 2, I think, probably was aiming higher to have a story, but
this at least went by faster. I'll give it that. On a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of day ruining, where do you rank the explanation for Norm of the North for Family Vacation?
Probably a 6.
A 6?
Yeah. Where I mean, the thing about the Roe v. Wade one is that's got a whole political angle to it that
this one doesn't.
Bothers me way more. This, at least, I'm sure some kids will watch it. I'm like, well, it's mostly harmless.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Sonic movie. It's I didn't like it, but it's just I'm like, well, any kid can sit. Yeah, any kid can sit through that. I'm like, that's what it was aimed for. I think so. I don't know. I give some kids' films a bigger break where I'm like, well, it's not the worst thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, the Farting Lemmings though, that's pretty fucking bad. Norm of the North was really fucking bad. But I mean, we've reviewed worse because there was Food Fight.
Oh,
that was
Food Fight's
terrible.
worse.
But Food Fight was mesmerizing in how bad it was.
Yeah.
Norm of the North was just boring. This would probably sit somewhere lower than Arctic Dogs.
Yeah.
But this would probably be in my top 10 worst for the year if I saw it.
It would have been. If Wonder Park was and Arctic Dogs, this one would be.
But I didn't see a whole lot of movies. I feel like Wonder Park may have been one of those. That was a pretty bad movie. But that may have been kicked down a bit, had I seen more bad movies, but yeah, Wonder Park was pretty shitty. I know, they're all pretty shitty.
It's not doing a very good track record for theme park based animated movies.
Which kills me because you would think that
animals.
You think that would be a shoo-in.
At the very least, you think the 3D would be good.
You would think that somebody would come up with an idea and make it work because what kid wouldn't want to see that?
Well, coming up will be more movies that, like I said, sometimes I get surprised with a screener, like that Roe v. Wade movie. Other times I look and just see what's coming on DVD, and if one comes out and really strikes my attention, which I looked at March, and there are a few.
And, if you like this concept, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, send us old school mail. Write us a letter. Thanks a bunch, everyone, for watching. That was fun.
Thanks.
Take care.